This is the BBC.
This podcast is supported by advertising outside the UK.
Selling a little or a lot? Shopify helps you do your thing however you cha-ching. Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. From the launch your online shop stage to the first real-life store stage, all the way to the did we just hit a million orders stage. Shopify is there to help you grow. Shopify helps you turn browsers into buyers with the internet's best converting checkout. 36% better on average compared to other leading commerce platforms. Because businesses that grow, grow with Shopify. Get a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/work. Shopify.com/work.
Hey, I'm Ryan Reynolds. At Mint Mobile, we like to do the opposite of what Big Wireless does. They charge you a lot. We charge you a little. So naturally, when they announced they'd be raising their prices due to inflation, we decided to deflate our prices due to not hating you. That's right. We're cutting the price of Mint Unlimited from $30 a month to just $15 a month. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 up front for 3 months plus taxes and fees. Promo rate for new customers for limited time. Unlimited more than 40 gigabytes per month. Slows full terms at mintmobile.com.
This is the problem with doing an episode about pastries and bakeries. Every time you want to chat to someone, they've got a mouthful of croissants.
People actually stop in the street and take pictures of it just in the window, and then they come inside to actually try one.
We see people going past on the bus and they see the queue and they're like, what on earth is going on there? Is it like a new Supreme clothing drop?
If you're saying pie in Dundee, then you're being very polite. So we call it a pie.
This is bringing tears to my eyes. I love the place from which Quince has been born.
Sometimes when I leave the bakery at the end of the day, there's like a trail of crumbs coming from the bakery door, and it's always interesting to see when they stop, because that's when people have finished the pastry.
Like Hansel and Gretel, sort of leading back to Lannan.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
It's like you're speaking in a language of love.
It is.
It's like you're trying to seduce me, and I'm almost there with these beautiful words. If you've taken a walk down the high street recently, you might have noticed the long line of customers queuing outside the local bakery. Not the traditional high street variety, but the sort that specialises in viennoiserie and sourdough, with a shop window full of inventive and intricate laminated pastries. In recent years, we've seen a sharp rise in these artisanal bakeries, many of which were born out of the pandemic. Today, the UK bread and morning goods sector is worth a whopping £3.8 billion and counting. But consumers are now looking for more premium products and a wider range of goods than simply bread. Many among this new wave have become known for their viral viennoiserie. Since the cronut was born in 2013, we're becoming increasingly familiar with the hybrid and viral creations, from cruffins and wonuts to cookies and croffles. Today you can find circular and cube-shaped pastries, and there is even a supersized croissant weighing in at a gut-busting 1.4 kilograms. More on that one in a moment. And whilst we've always queued for pastries and pies, the artisanal bakery line is a bit different. It's become part of the experience, not only a weekend routine, but an event in itself, written about in national newspapers and posted on social media feeds. So in this episode, we're exploring the world of hype bakeries, from hour-long queues to super early sellouts, and we're hearing how they're feeding an insatiable appetite across the country. We're also exploring how bakeries, and the queues we happily form outside them, get to the heart of British food heritage and our culinary identity. I'm Leyla Kazim, you're listening to The Food Programme, and our first port of call on this pastry pilgrimage is one of the London branches of Philippe Conticini, where their supersized croissant has become an internet phenomenon, thanks to a small army of influencers and their viral videos.
Hi, my name is Jesse Mario. I'm executive chef for Philippe Conticini.
I know that making a normal sized croissant is a technical challenge as it is. I mean, are they hard to make? How difficult was it to come up with?
I think it was about 3 months development on it, where we had to redo every single day the whole process. So right now the guys are mixing the dough, and all of this have to ferment for 24 hours. So it was the same process for the giant croissant, but during 3 months. So every single day we're mixing the dough, making it, be unhappy for 1 month, and then finally see some result of it.
So how many of those ones do you make, the XL ones?
I would say on the Saturday, normal weekend, it would be about 150. On the side, and most of the time we sell out, so people actually stop in the street and take pictures of it just in the window, and then they come inside to actually try one. It looks so good on the window, and so it's a very nice display.
Jesse, I think we need to try this XL croissant now.
I think you really should.
Yeah, I think
get ready.
Let's do it. Let's try it. Oh my gosh, the croissant is coming. This is mad. This is crazy, Jessie. It looks exactly like a very good croissant, just really big. But also, because my brain is confused as to what I'm looking at, it almost doesn't look real. It is real, and it actually looks great close up. I'm so impressed. Okay, I'm going to taste it. It smells good. Buttery, light, very delicious.
It was a long journey, but today we have the world's largest croissant on the table.
When I first saw it on social media, I thought this is a gimmick, and it is a gimmick, obviously, but it's actually still a decent pastry, and I just really like the idea of it being a celebratory pastry that a group of people can get together and enjoy and have a real experience with it. So even if it is a gimmick or a marketing thing, why not? I mean, it brings joy to people, and it's a nice croissant, so go for it. Our next stop is Toad in Camberwell in South London, one of 62 spots featured in a new book tracking the wave of artisan bakeries popping up across the UK from Cardiff to Cornwall.
Hi, my name's Kenny-Ryder. I'm the author of the new book, Britain's Best Bakeries.
When you were visiting all these bakeries, did you notice any sort of trends across them?
One of the trends is just using really great produce and amazing flour from Britain, like really being careful about where you source your butter from. I mean, what's incredible is that a single croissant can be so different. I think, out of the 62 bakeries I visited, not one had the same set of circumstances. So it could be like different flour. Some use butter that's a slightly higher percentage of fat, which makes it more juicy in its texture. What seems simple, a croissant, can be so different.
Why do you think pastries and these kinds of bakeries are so popular?
Obviously, we've just been through a global pandemic. I think people were really getting into nurturing their own bodies at home, whether that's slaving over a sourdough starter and trying to perfect sourdough bread, or, finding a bit of joy in making yourself a banana bread. So it's a sort of real tangible joy to making yourself something at home and enjoying it at home, and we all got into that because we had to. And then also, cost of living crisis, the fact that eating out now is so expensive for so many different reasons, and actually going for a really indulgent, lovely bakery breakfast is maybe more affordable but just as special as going out for Saturday night dinner that is now going to cost, too much for a lot of people.
I want to ask you about queues, because it feels like a lot of bakeries have queues outside, or they have a limited amount of products, and when they're sold. And I remember this from Dominique Ansell's Cronut, which started in New York, right? Yeah. Years ago. And I feel like that was one of the first instances of the kind of virality of bakeries. And I remember seeing pictures of queues and thinking, God, this thing must be amazing. People are queuing down blocks. What do you think about queues? Because they do seem to be quite specific to bakeries.
It's got a time limit, these pastries. They are best enjoyed fresh. The bakeries that have queues are really deserving of it. They work, through the night. A lot of them that are only open for 2 days, I know there are some that have been getting a lot of stick for sort of not being open more, but they are very much working a full week prepping and making jam with the fruit. It's a long process, so I feel like we should be queuing for them.
Let's have a taste. I say taste, I've already one of them. I mean, it's flaky, it's light, it's buttery, it's chocolatey.
It's everything you want, basically.
Millie Kenny-Ryder, author of Britain's Best Bakeries. So what are the industry trends driving changes in the sector? And what does our desire for the new and novel mean for bakeries of all sizes? Here's Sam White of Bakery Business Magazine.
During the pandemic, a lot of these guys were home bakers and then moved to a micro bakery and are now setting up their own high street bakery. So there are a large number of craft and artisan bakers that are popping up within trendy areas. The smaller bakeries have the ability to innovate quite quickly and churn out a few products and see how they're received. It's not as easy as that when you're a plant baker or an industrial baker or an in-store bakery. The bakery industry is very divided in terms of the demographic. You've got the old guard, the traditional bakers who still underpin the whole industry, and the younger bakers need those guys because their experience and their knowledge is second to none. And we don't want to lose skills in the bakery industry. Pastries are both indulgent and convenient, and they are loved by adults and children alike. It fills you up, it tastes good, it's a bit indulgent, you feel like you've had a treat. So it's a huge trend at the moment, this increase in viennoiserie. And viennoiserie products and pastry products do cross, again, that divide, not only adults and children, but also the traditional and the modern. You know, it's a generation thing. They like their croissant, they like their pain au chocolat, but the younger generation are looking for something a bit more exciting. And the cronut and the cruffin, they tick those boxes.
Sam White.
My name is Angela Hoy. I'm an author and a journalist. I'm a food writer. I write for various places.
Fueled by eye-catching social media videos, the growing trend towards visual consumption is changing the form and flavour of our favourite baked goods, according to Angela Hoy, and often, she says, not living up to expectations. Angela has also noticed the rise of a new style of Asian bakery, in particular those using the atomic green hue of pandan and the eye-poppingly purple ube.
It's so much more than just a bakery nowadays. I feel that many of these new wave bakeries is more of like a brand and a lifestyle. You know, you relate to the staff and you kind of want to support your local favourite bakery because they're kind of the underdog compared to these big chains, and mostly a lot of them are quite funny online. You kind of relate to it. It's almost like they're selling you this curated lifestyle, like postable lifestyle. So they have these collaborations and drops that kind of adds to the scarcity and the hype and this kind of, I must have it attitude because it creates an urgency. It's only for a limited time only. And they want to try and, capture it while they can. It's almost like a Pokemon game, essentially. I do feel that kind of opens up a can of worms in a way where bakers kind of try to outdo each other on social media, getting bigger and better, more absurd, more brighter colours, more of like a crazier combination of things just to try to break through the algorithm. It's this problem that we're seeing these, mega viral bakeries, people queuing up for it, and often we're kind of disappointed by it because, it's not worth the wait, they're overpriced, and you're kind of setting yourself up for disappointment because you can't really taste, you're kind of judging it by what other people are saying. You kind of saw it with I think it was like very big on TikTok as well, the viral pandan cake, which is this kind of fluffy kind of chiffon cake, and it's like this giant triangle wedge essentially, and it looks super fluffy. People are kind of pressing it down and it's like a sponge and it bounces back up, and it's this really bright green color. It's almost like a Flubber Shrek kind of color. You kind of stop and see it as you're kind of scrolling on your screen. You're like, oh, you see this bright green cake, you're like, I want to try this looks wacky, this looks crazy. And again, it kind of sets off the chain reaction. So I think that's why in the last kind of 5 years that pandan and ube has been so appealing in terms of visual appeal and consumption and the flavor.
Angela Hoy. Next, we are off to Edinburgh, where Lannan, one of the most anticipated bakery openings of recent years, has been gaining plaudits and topping national lists since opening last July. In fact, the the bakery just bagged the Opening of the Year prize at the prestigious La Liste Pastry Awards in Paris. Our producer, Robbie Armstrong, headed there early on a Sunday morning where a queue was already forming.
I've queued longer for a pint at a gig than I've queued here, so I think that's a good indication. But yeah, it's worth it. It's good. Do you know what it is? It's probably a psychological thing. You see people queuing in, it must be good.
What do you think it is about Britain and our sort of very long-standing love affair with bakeries?
I think it's probably something that we can all relate to, childhood. Do you know what I mean? I'm going to get a vanilla slice if they've got any left, and it's just you remember it from when you were a kid and stuff like that.
Thank you very much. Enjoy your. Cheers, it was a vanilla slice, a custard slice.
Custard slice, aye, no, definitely.
That's them making them.
I know.
You can see it.
I think they're all for me, yeah. Hence the physique.
Do you queue for a lot of food, or is this an exception?
This is definitely an exception.
It's not for me actually, because I go to the bakers at home. There's not quite such a big queue as this, but there is always a queue. So it's probably the one thing I do queue for, thinking about it, because I have to queue for the bakers at home as well. So yeah.
And why do you think that is, that bakeries seem to be the one exception for most people that they will stand in a queue for?
Because I guess it's fresh.
And how did you find out about it?
On social media and stuff, and my friends have been and said it's really good. So
pastries and viennoiserie on social media, do you see a lot of that on your feed? Why do you think that is, if you do?
Yes, quite a lot, and lots of coffee shop sort of stuff. And I guess it's just small luxuries that people can have, and students, it's quite a nice treat to go and have a nice pastry and catch up with people, and it's nice to have nice food. Yeah,
I guess you can appreciate it, can't you? Yeah. It's a bit of an art, isn't it? Yeah.
Great, thank you very much. What is it that makes bakeries particularly worthy of queuing up for?
Well, as a pastry chef, I like to think it's the effort and care and time that goes into things, especially something like a croissant can take a day, 2 days if you do it really well. Same with sourdough, and it's just sort of a food that level of care doesn't get put into as many things, I think, as they do still with bakeries.
So I'm Darcy Maher. I'm the owner and head baker at Lanham Bakery in Edinburgh.
Where are we just now?
So we're in the main bakery at the window with a tray of pastries ready to taste them. So we'll start with savoury. So we have, it's andouille, fermented honey, fennel seed, Murcia Alvino cheese. It's in croissant dough, so it's super flaky. It's sweet, spicy, salty. And then we have a seasonal thing that we've got on at the moment, which is our asparagus Danish. And then for the sweet things, we have some classics. We have the croissant, the pain au chocolat. We have a pain Swiss, which is cross-laminated, gives it a gorgeous crunch. I always think it looks a bit like corduroy. And that's filled with coffee custard and dulce chocolate, which is a caramelized white chocolate. And then we also have our cardamom bun, which is a different dough to everything else. And then we also have our custard slice. So this is made with our spelt puff pastry. The custard's made with creme fraiche, loads of vanilla, and it has a sour cherry and buttermilk glaze. So in a perfect croissant, we have a really thin, crackly crust, really shiny. You can see the lamination between each step. We have a really delicate, lacy interior. It's not greasy to the touch, but it still has a beautiful buttery flavour.
How many hours does it take to make a croissant like that? I mean, you're talking days rather than hours, aren't you?
Yeah, so all of our pastry takes 3 days to make. So we mix the dough on day 1. Day 2, it gets laminated. So it's a kilo of butter to 3.5 kilos of dough. And then it goes into the prover overnight on cold for another long rest. And then in the morning, when we come in, they're ready to go in the oven.
It's very good. The best things don't need to be complicated, yeah, right? Definitely. I mean, it's complicated enough.
Yeah, the flavours, yeah, for sure.
What I love about the flaky pastries in particular as well is that they look so perfect, and yet when you start to eat them, they're so messy. They sort of defy being so pretty. There's no easy way of eating them, really. You just get crumbs everywhere, all over your front, on your face.
Sometimes when I leave the bakery at the end of the day and I'm walking home, there's a trail of crumbs coming from the bakery door, and it's always interesting to see when they stop, because that's when people have finished the pastry.
Hansel and Gretel, yeah, sort of leading back to Lannan.
Yeah, that's exactly it. what we do, it's very time consuming and you need a lot of space and a lot of expensive equipment and a lot of staff. So there is a limit to how much we can make, especially at the size we're at just now. We're sort of maximum capacity every day. Because it sells out early, people almost want it more, because it's like, if you get it, you know, you've won over other people. I don't really know. It's going to be really interesting to see what it's like during the Fringe Festival, because we opened just before August last year. So I couldn't work out whether it was like opening madness or Fringe madness or both.
The New York Times magazine, you featured in there. The Times, best bakeries in Britain. The Telegraph, 13 bakeries worth queuing for. The FT, cult of the pastry. I mean, you've featured in all of these articles, and people bring camping chairs, you know, and turn up at 7 a.m. to queue. So I would say it's probably going to be quite hectic during one of the biggest festivals in the world.
Yeah, I mean, when you put all those things together, it just seems even more crazy. I just always feel so bad when people arrive and we have nothing left. We get quite a lot of disgruntled customers later on in the day, and they'll come in and they'll say, "Is this all that's left?" And it's like, yeah, we sold out, you know, early, but there's nothing else coming out. There's not, and it's just like, I can't seem to explain it, but I find it quite stressful and upsetting at times, because I want everyone to be able to try everything. But I think the customers are their own worst enemy. The earlier they come, the quicker we sell out. And I don't know, it's just like this snowball effect of things going quickly. And, you know, the longer you stand in a queue, the more you want to buy when you get to the counter. So then we sell out quicker. But I really want to stay true to the size that we are, and I don't want to scale up. For me, it's the little specials that I do at the weekend. It's the things that, like, you know, I'm waiting for a certain fruit to come into season, and it comes in and I'm like really excited because I get to try making this pastry that I've been thinking about for months, and that I would lose that if we expanded, and that's something that's really important to me.
Darcy Maher, whose modern pastries with a nostalgic twist pay homage to baking heritage. And so next, to one of Scotland's most traditional bakeries, Fisher and Donaldson, where Chloe Milne, the fifth generation of her family to run the business, is showing Robbie around.
Today we are in Cooper in Fife, and we're at Fisher and Donaldson. We're standing in our bakery area of production, and next door we've got confectionery, and there's a lot going on this morning. We've been around over 100 years now, so it feels very traditional to us, but at one point choux pastry and Danish pastries weren't available in every bakery. We've sort of brought different things over the years from different countries, and then now they become a staple of what we do. So yeah, we stay strong to our roots with sort of rich fruitcakes, loads of shortbread, and really traditionally Scottish things, Dundee cake and Scotch pies. And then on the other hand, we've got some amazing sort of Danish pastries, but with the Scottish twist, because they've got amazing Fife strawberries on the top of them. Yeah, huge mix of different types of baking, but all sort of really handmade and traditional, and using, long-standing techniques that haven't changed over the last decades.
I'm imagining that your most popular cakes and bakes are ones that have reached the status of being timeless. Also stuff that probably are very nostalgic for people, that remind them of their childhood, that take them back, like almost like a Proustian moment where they're just brought back to getting brought into a bakery by their granny or grandpa or their mum as a child.
When you've got a business that's been going for over 100 years, all of our customers have grown up with us, and we've a lot of people that talk about their granny bringing them once a week after school for a treat. There's a lot of things that are tied to that nostalgia and that memory, and I think that hopefully is a circle that continues like each generation. You can see what's happening in the cities, and they're making these amazing products, but it's not dissimilar to what's happening through in that bakery behind us. We have this amazing story and this amazing behind the scenes that in the past we haven't shown, so that's something that we're really working on. Is we're doing the same thing, and we've been doing it for a long time, and you maybe just haven't put together that the cake, that strawberry Danish on the counter is made exactly the same as the bonazzerie that you might get in a city. So I think it's just lifting the profile of the whole industry. No matter what size of bakery you step into, there are skilled people behind the scenes that are working hard every night.
Fisher and Donaldson occupies a really unique position as a traditional bakery, because if you open up your phone and you go on Instagram or even TikTok, you will see food influencers and travel influencers with hundreds of thousands of followers. visiting primarily St Andrews rather than Cooper, have to admit, but going in to get the fudge donut, that doesn't normally happen with traditional Scottish bakeries, especially very regional bakeries like yourself. What's behind that?
It's all about the product. Like, if they're a food influencer, does it taste good or not? Does it look good? You know, is it appealing to me? And I think what's then added to that is that when they walk through the door, it's in a traditional sort of setting. People just love it. They love a fudge donut. I don't know exactly what it is about it.
So you got the fudge on top, and then it's very like puffy, like almost like a brioche, and then it is filled with custard. Try a bit. I mean, for me, that just immediately takes me back to going down to the High Street Bakery as a kid. Love it. Such a range of things that you do here. It is a sort of bewildering array of bakes here.
There's often a queue, I think, because people take so long to decide what they're going to pick and what they're going to have that day. So yeah, we're so proud of the fact that we're still able to put that amount of product out every day. It's not easy, but yeah, we're incredibly proud of it.
Chloe Milne. From the Kingdom of Fife, a hop over the River Tay to Dundee, a veritable mecca when it comes to bakeries. Gary Robertson is a binman, musician and author, as well as the self-styled Dundee street poet. And like all self-respecting Dundonians, he has an endearing love for the city's famous pies, or pears as they are known locally, especially those from Clark's, which has 8 branches across the city, including one that is open for 24 hours a day.
For the people on the streets, I mean, Clark's has become a Dundee institution. It's your go-to when you're getting a wee bit hungry, you're working a while in the bin larry or that, and you definitely come in here for a pie or a bridie or whatever, maybe a wee cake, but you've got to watch your figure.
I am Amy Chaplin. I'm the bakery manager at Clark's. Everybody loves a pie in Dundee. It's crazy. We make around about 10,000 pies a week.
It's Jonathan Clark from Clark's Bakery, 3rd generation. But the reason it became 24 hours was because when we used to put the rack of rolls at the door to let them cool down quicker, to pack them, the students and different people in the services used to come up and, you know, first of all, the students used to try and grab a roll or that when they were drunk. And and then it just came from there that my dad thought, well, geez, I could make a mince roll. And then it went from there. I think it was a wee shop that was a metre by a metre. And then we got granted that we're allowed to trade 24 hours. And then it just grew from there.
Clark's, there's one up near where I live. I'll go and get chicken, peri chicken. Absolutely magnificent. You just can't beat a Dundee pie. If I didn't watch my cholesterol and that, I would eat these a day, but I better know. I think it's just one of these pieces of food that you could pick up on the go, especially for workers when they get a tea break, a dinner break or that. Go and grab a pie or a bridie, and you can grab a wee cake with that as well. But it's strange how Dundee's become quite linked with that kind of food, but it really is. It's simple, but it's tasty as hell, and the amount of choice, it's phenomenal now. So really does keep you going. It keeps you going during your working day and after hours when you've maybe had a wee swally or that. It's funny to think about the connections that the bakery has with certainly Scotland, Dundee, probably the whole of Britain, but it has become part of our make-up and culture. It's a place where you can go, have a blather with the staff, get your food, and I think, like I said, it makes you happy and keeps you going during your day. We would never say a pie here. If you're saying pie in Dundee, then you're being very polite. So we call it a pie. When I think about it, I've had a Kelly pie, which are quite famous at the football Kilmarnock FC, and they're no bad, but they're not in the same league as the Dundee pies.
Gary Robertson. From time-tested local bakeries to the new, we're back at Toad, where owners Rebecca Spaven and Oliver Costello are explaining to Millie and I how they accidentally became a viral sensation.
You see people going past on the bus and they see the queue and they're like, what on earth is going on there? Is it like a new Supreme clothing drop? And yeah, I think people love to join a queue. So they'll see a queue and they'll be like, I want to be in that.
This is the great
quirk of the British. We just love a queue and we will join it. I think it's like a really good sort of marketing tool. Not that you intended for it to be, but exactly as you said, if you're driving or walking past a place with a queue, I want to know what it's for. And then I'd like to join it.
It's usually a nice atmosphere as well, it's like Saturday morning. It's something to do. It gets people together. I've overseen a lot of like exchanges between new people, new friends and things like that, and it's like a new thing to do, like brings the community together in some way.
Well, it is like a local treasure in the end, like it's something that thrives because it becomes people's sort of everyday stop off, and that's so nice because that's what we used to do sort of 20-30 years ago, and that's what they still do in France. Like going to the boulangerie every morning for your loaf of daily bread is part of everyday routine, and that's what it is kind of coming back to a bit here, which is lovely.
We've spent £0 on marketing, and not that that's a thing to aim for, but we just don't know how to do it. So it's nice that it's kind of taken into the hands of the people that come and enjoy food. And
organically kind of become a thing on social media.
People take beautiful pictures for us and post it, and like I think people like seeing that kind of people like interacting with, and people like seeing that kind of perspective. It's like, oh, like this is what it looks like to be a customer at Toad, and like rather than us kind of constructing this careful kind of brand, I think we prefer to do it that way, more organic, I guess.
We never think about it as something that would go viral or be really like shareable or anything like that. It's more just a beautiful thing.
It happens by accident because Oliver is so talented at making beautiful pastries.
It comes to me in a dream late at night.
I think that's so nice because the place from which all of Toad has come from is not from a place of we want to go viral, we want loads of influencers or any of that kind of stuff. It's just you're doing your thing, and then all of the other good stuff has happened because of that.
Yeah, that's a nice way of putting it.
There's just so much love in bakeries, isn't there? Like people just love a local bakery because there's so much heart and soul in it, and that like shines through, and people want to scream from the rooftops about it, whether that's to their friends or on Instagram or whatever.
I mean, there are so many pastries on this table. I feel like we should make more of a dent. I'm going to have this one. Oh, the cherry! Oh my god, the brioche, beautiful. Custard, yeah. We've tried a mixture of savoury and sweet, and they're fabulous. They're so great, and the flavours are so creative, and just like eating a lot of them. Thanks, guys. Had the best breakfast.
You're welcome. You like
lunch and dinner. Yeah, rolled into one
day. Right. Thank you so much.
Although both family-run and the trendy newer bakeries loom large in our culinary imagination, there is one that rises above them all. With 2,500 shops across the UK, Greggs has more branches than any other fast food outlet. Roughly the same number of stores as all the UK's smaller bakeries combined. Its mass appeal speaks not only to its affordability, but also an ability to capture the hearts of a nation that loves pastries, sweet treats, and increasingly, food on the go. Lewis Bassett, chef and host of the Full English podcast, is something of an expert where our nation's favourite bakery is concerned.
Yeah, what are you getting, Lewis?
Can I get a sausage roll? And then I have the meat one.
Yeah.
And can I get a Belgian bun?
And a vegan sausage roll. So we're in Leicester Square, which is why it's so busy and chaotic. And what's interesting is we've just joked that there are basically no Londoners in Leicester Square because it's where loads of tourists come. And so I think it's quite a lot of tourists that are going to Greggs, and I feel like that they recognise Greggs is a really British thing, and that probably when you're visiting London, you want to buy one. You want to have some Greggs.
Yeah, I think if someone asked me where do I get authentic British food, I would say go to Greggs, 100%. Also, the interesting thing about it being here is if you look around us, it's really, Greggs is just up there with the big brands of this nation, like all bar one, owned by Wetherspoons, McDonald's, Pizza Hut, Burger King, TGI Friday. Like, it's part of the space, part of our like kind of corporate space, and it's, you know, part of our popular kind of eating habits. It's I feel like I'm giving the PR talk a bit, but it's a real rags to riches story. So you get this guy who's basically selling eggs on his bike in Northumberland or in Newcastle, and then it has a really slow expansion over like almost 100 years to basically become now one of literally the most popular brands food-wise in this country, selling 3 million sausage rolls every week. Yeah, it's a big success story.
It feels like now Greggs is quite a key part of the British identity. What's their secret? How have they managed to do that?
They tap into a type of food that's just been around in the UK for a really long time. Like, we think of food to go as a kind of relatively new thing, but if you look in like 1600s Britain, people were picking up buns and pies and walking away with them and eating them in their like relatively mobile lives. It's kind of not really a new thing, this kind of style of relatively cheap fast food, and Greggs is just doing it really, really well. That on top of just like really impressive, clever marketing, and just like this ubiquity. Like, they seem to have this model where like you don't really ever need to look for a Greggs. Like, Greggs just kind of is there and finds you. But there's still loads of hype around Greggs. Like, there can be like moments of exception around Greggs. Like when they opened their biggest store in Birmingham, which is huge, people queued up there for like half an hour to an hour just to get inside, and they came rushing through the door just to get their sausage rolls. So like, Greggs is very clever at marketing this thing, and they do this thing of like saying, you know, like, we kind of know our product is a bit everyday and a bit cheap and a bit, but it's kind of cheeky, and people want to celebrate that. It kind of comes back to that kind of northern cheeky mentality thing. You could say it's a working class food because it's just so cheap than compared to like Toad Bakery where you went to today. But, you know, even things around that are kind of complicated. Like, if you queue up for an expensive pastry at Toad Bakery, it doesn't necessarily mean you're like a really bougie person. It might just mean that's how you're choosing to spend your money. And remember, like, it's quite expensive to eat out at a restaurant, so maybe it's a nicer like culinary event to go and just get yourself, or a more accessible culinary event to go and get yourself an expensive croissant.
Lewis Bassett. Recent trends for French-style viennoiserie has led to increasingly attention-grabbing products. Rising energy and food costs has led to heftier price tags for pastries and increased demand for a finite product. And although queues and sellouts drive out demand, sellouts and queues often have more to do with limited resources, space, and the time-consuming nature of lamination rather than cynical attempts to generate hype or artificial scarcity. The recent craze for viral viennoiserie reinforces our long-standing love affair with baked goods, pastries and pies going back hundreds of years. And in reality, laminated pastry has been generating hype since the first Viennese-style bakery opened in Paris in 1839. Today, however, with all the choice on offer, the bakeries we frequent say something not only about our food culture, but also about how we position ourselves in society and the community and social class we identify with. More than anything, though, I think our love of bakeries reflects the power food has in bringing people together, allowing us to revel in sensory pleasure and nostalgia, and affording us little luxuries in our busy lives in the process. Our final stop on this buttery odyssey is Quince in North London, where I'm meeting with Anna Higham. She's worked at some of the city's top restaurants as a pastry chef before opening her own bakery in February this year, at which she swerves laminated pastries altogether. Instead, she champions her own take on modern British baking with seasonality and sustainability at its core, with a weekly changing menu dictated by the fruit Anna picks herself at a farm in East Sussex throughout the year.
So we've got the brown butter bun, which is our kind of signature bake, which is like bun dough, big nugget of brown butter and brown sugar in the centre, and then a brown butter and wholemeal flour kind of crackle-an topping. Then we've got an asparagus and St. Tola scone, a ham hock and parsley pie, apricot pie, rice pudding and rhubarb tart, peach and amaretti biscuit, a strawberry and marzipan scone, then a fig leaf and olive oil cake, oat and einkorn cookie, and then a strawberry and Ivy House dairy cream bun.
It's like you're speaking in a language of love.
It is.
It's like you're trying to seduce me, and I'm almost there with these beautiful words.
I think we're all very romantic people, and so the food, I think, kind of reflects the kind of the romance of how we talk about it. The three kind of pillars of the business, which sounds a bit uppity, but it's joy, nourishment, and community. That's kind of what I started with. Those are the things that I want, like joy. For myself, I want to feel really joyful in everything I'm making, because I want to do this for a long time, and I want the people that come in to feel that joy through the food, but also kind of feel that joy and pleasure from the kind of the air of being here, the vibe. You know, I want the kids that come in here as babies now to like still be coming in here in 10 years. Like, we've got one boy that comes in almost every day for a brown butter bun with his mum, and like he's slowly warming up. And we're going to be like, in 5 years, we're going to be like, you're going to come in here and do work experience. And I can't wait for that. That feels really wonderful.
Yeah. Brilliant. This is bringing tears to my eyes. I love the place from which Quince has been born. Like, it feels like it's just really a part of you, and yeah, it's really nice. I've cut this bun into 4. When I cut it in half, I just got like a woof of the gorgeous aroma. Let's try it. Yeah. I'm going to say the word nourishing, which is weird, but that's kind of, exactly what I'm...
Like, it's not earnest, and it's not kind of, this is good for you, you should eat it. But it is nourishing.
Yeah, and like really kind of wholesome and proper and just lovely and comforting. Oh my God, it's lovely. It's great. I don't really come across bakeries like yours that do a kind of modern take on classic British baked goods. And it's actually really nice to come in here and to see different things that aren't croissants and laminated pastries.
We have such a rich history in the UK, and there are so many regional specialities that, it seems really silly to not kind of make the most of them and explore them. Having that kind of British lens puts the limits on what we do and how we make things, and that encourages us to be kind of more and more creative. And that's the same reason I kind of feel about seasonality, is that if I'm like, we only work seasonally, it gives us that limit, it gives us that kind of something to push against, and forces you to be kind of creative and think through, come up with something new. You know, we've been looking to the continent, we've been looking to France, looking to what America does. Copenhagen has a huge kind of bakery scene and big input in what you see a lot of bakeries doing. And we've kind of learned all those skills, and I think it's a really exciting time to be kind of taking all of that knowledge and putting that lens kind of back onto the British history. Yeah,
brilliant. I think it's great. Well done.
Thanks.
Gail Katz told friends she was leaving her husband, Bob, then went missing. On season 1 of The Girlfriends, Bob's ex-girlfriends came together to bring him down and seek justice.
I can't believe this.
Now on season 2, host Carol Fisher is back, working to solve the mystery of another missing woman.
It's almost like it's become this moral obligation to find her.
Listen to The Girlfriends, Our Lost Sister on America's #1 podcast network, iHeart. Open your free iHeart app and search The Girlfriends, Our Lost Sister and start listening.